I am a contactee, clairvoyant psychic, cosmic channel, and time traveler. I'm just teasing with you guys, or am I? But today I'm going to be talking about some very interesting disclosures on super soldiers. The White House has made some very interesting posts this week and over the last few days, and as well as GameStop, and super soldiers are kind of taking over the internet, or at least X or Twitter, by storm right now. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you guys one of these posts here. So we've got Donald Trump. The White House posted this. Power to the players. Donald Trump dressed in a Halo, the video game Halo, which is also a series which has just been added to Netflix. He's dressed in that uniform, Master Chief's uniform, number 117. If you guys have been following my channel for a bit, you have heard me talk about this number, as well as the number 17, the 17th letter in the alphabet, quantum. It seems to come up for a lot of starseeds on some of these more maybe intense or involved or covert missions here on Earth. And for those who are maybe new followers, subscribers to my channel, you may not have heard about secret space programs, super soldiers. I probably also have a lot of very well-versed. So I want to dive into a little bit about the secret space programs and this super soldier thing that we got going on. But I believe the White House posting this is very significant. And they posted that the memes have been flowing, as you can see. So Halo, the video game, is it's complete disclosure over super soldier programs. And super soldier programs have been going on for decades, I'm sure, at least since the 40s, World War II Nazis. There's a lot of disclosure on that, and it's portrayed in a lot of films. You know, they have to tell you, they tell you without really telling you. Kind of have to see beyond, or really it's kind of just all up in your face, but they play it off as like, oh, it's just a game or it's just a movie. But really this is actual disclosure. So I'm going to dive into some of that as well. But this was in response to something that GameStop posted just the other day. GameStop declares the console wars over. Whereas for the past 2 decades, the global gaming community has been engaged in an ongoing and increasingly petty conflict known as the console wars. Now, I feel like this whole message from GameStop is filled with comms, communication, and it's like a mirror effect where it's showing we have this war that's been going on, this secret war involving secret space programs, super soldiers, all of this experimentation. And there's positive programs, negative programs. I'll dive into a little bit more of what that all means here in a minute. But I believe this is communication, and this is kind of like as above, so below. It's mirroring what's going on right now. I feel there's been a lot of movement going on in this covert secret war. A lot of it having to do with the dumbs, cleaning out of underground facilities and things like that. Whereas said conflict originated in the early 2000s with the release of Halo, combat evolved as an Xbox exclusive title, super popular video game about super soldiers. Whereas Halo Campaign Evolved is officially coming on PlayStation in 2026 with cross-platform play. Therefore, GameStop, acting under its authority as a neutral entity in the world's retail gaming and trade-in destination, hereby declares the official cessation of the console wars. All claims to exclusivity are hereby dissolved. Console loyalists are instructed to cease hostilities, disband militias, and enjoy this new era of gaming. And there's also like this mirroring of like this reality is kind of like a game, right? Like we're living in this matrix, and you can kind of like hack the matrix as you begin to awaken and see beyond the veil. But really we're spiritual beings playing as avatars in here. So there's a lot of kind of symbology and mirroring going on with that. And they're calling a cessation of war, of these wars. Interesting. GameStop will continue to operate as a demilitarized zone, offering hardware, accessories, and trade-ins and combatants on all sides. Power to the players, which then prompted the White House posting this, kind of giving a nod to the super soldiers. More memes. And, oh, this was something that I saw the other day. I was out to lunch, and ESPN was on, and we weren't even paying attention to the TV. My friend sitting next to me was like, look, and this is going on. There was a bunch of arrests going on that he was talking about, Kash Patel. And then the bottom right corner was S-A Shadow of Ezra countdown. It was only there for a couple of minutes. Shadow of Ezra is a big Q account. So why would that be on ESPN? And it was like a countdown. That was a few days ago. And then all of this super soldier stuff has been all over the internet. So it's just there for a couple of minutes and then it disappeared. I would have never seen it if I was not out to eat and looked up at that direct moment. And whenever we all looked up at it, the ticker was at 117. So I felt like that was a that was a communication, like, hey, we're cleaning things up, because he was speaking about mass arrests happening. So I feel this is very layered and there's a lot going on. Hopefully you guys are following me. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. So super soldiers. I'm going to dive into a little bit of the secret space program. Now, I am not an expert in this, but the secret space programs came into my awareness about 3.5 years ago. And what I've come to find is that there's positive and negative programs going on. This has been happening covertly, at least since World War II, since the Nazi era. Some of these programs, these dark programs, involve breakaway Nazi civilizations, the moon, Mars, the asteroid belt. There's been space travel going on for decades and decades and decades. It's just been hidden from us. And what I've also come to find through some of the SSP or secret space program whistleblowers, which super soldiers would be a branch of these secret space programs, these covert programs, where they do experimentation to enhance abilities, and they may target children. They target children and abduct them, and they'll take them into this program, and then they mind wipe them afterwards and put them back in place. So there's something called a 20 and back, where it's like a contract. They take these kids. Usually they have some sort of gifts or abilities. A lot of them in like the talented and gifted program in school. They will scan for these kids in public schools. Also, if you have military families, if you have members of your family who are involved in the military, they are monitoring, and they keep an eye out for gifted children. Think like Stranger Things is coming to my mind right now. That was also disclosure, and I'll go through a list of disclosure movies and shows as well that show this, like the MK Ultra mind control programming, teaching you remote viewing, remote influencing. So that's what they do in Stranger Things. They have all of these children. They are putting them through strenuous testing to activate and enhance gifts and abilities like remote viewing, remote influencing, where 11, the main character, she can even kill with her mind. And she can spy through remote viewing. So that's direct disclosure of programs that are literally happening. Like, you can look into MK Ultra if you want to learn more on that. And that's like trauma-based mind control, very, very nasty stuff. But that's been going on for decades and decades and decades and decades. And I believe that they've been taking thousands of children into these programs. They wipe your memory so you may not remember anything. Most people don't. A 20 and back, which I mentioned a second ago, is, and this sounds crazy, we're kind of going down the rabbit hole here, but over the last 3.5, 4 years of me kind of researching this, and I've also had some of my own memories come up regarding this. It sounds crazy, but it's real. It's actually real. It's really mind-boggling. But a 20 and back is where they would take a child, and what they do is they use your consciousness. They take your consciousness and they put it into a clone body. And then in that body, you live a whole 20-year contract doing whatever. It could be Intel. You may be working in Intel. You may be working in transport. You may be working on the planet, off the planet. They may be using you for psychic abilities, remote viewing, super soldier programs where they enhance you to fight and work in these wars on planet or even off planet, Mars, other places. And there are quite a number of whistleblowers who have been able to get their memories back. Tony Rodriguez being a popular one. I've interviewed him. He has tons of interviews if you want to learn more about his testimony, as well as Daryl James. He has a really great testimony. I have a 2-part interview with him, and Daryl was actually in the military. And when he was in the military, Navy, I believe, he was offered the option to join this secret space program. And so he agreed, and they took him. They did the whole spiel, and he worked 20 years. And then what they do after your sentence is up or your contract is up, then they put your consciousness back at the set point in time where they took you. So you've lived this whole other life, and then they time travel you back, basically put your consciousness back, like they just borrow your consciousness, then put you back. And you might wake up feeling different. You might have a total personality change. You might deal with PTSD and you don't know where it's coming from. Like PTSD with spiders. Apparently there's these massive spiders on Mars if you've been taken into a secret space program on Mars. I know I have a big fear of spiders, and I do think that is why. I've had some memories come up of being on Mars. I've had some memories come up of being on the moon, where they've been like taking my blood. They also look out for certain bloodlines. If you have certain gifts and abilities, higher IQ level, all of those things, they scan for gifted people. So I have memories of being on the moon and them taking my blood and just kind of walking down a corridor and seeing, fellow people in the programs just like on each side of me and walking down these corridors on the moon, being in like a hospital setting, or like a medical type setting on the moon. And then also on Mars, I remember being in a squad and I was very badly injured, and the squad leader was helping me, but I was dressed in all black, and that was more of a super soldier type aspect. I also have a memory of being in a kind of this transport with 3 very large reptilians, and they looked like warrior caste, and they smelled very, very, very bad. So I have like blips here and there that I've been able to tap into over the past few years. Some of the stuff is very traumatic. There are positive programs and negative programs. Solar Warden being a more positive secret space program. Jean-Charles Moyen is a whistleblower on that who has memories from that. Daryl James, who I mentioned, has memories from being in Solar Warden, and then also in the beginning he was in the Dark Fleet, which is a dark program, Nazis, reptilians, all of that. And that's a very traumatic experience. So he goes over that in depth if you want to check that out on my channel, or you can just look his name up. He's done plenty of interviews. The light programs like Solar Warden and some of these other positive programs, I believe, are helping with cleaning out the DUMBs, these underground trafficking facilities, and all of that. So I've done a number of readings for people and spoke with tons of starseeds light workers who have these memories of being in underground dumps, of saving children, rescuing children, seeing, trigger warning, seeing children in cages, being trafficked, which is part of this whole massive cult that's been running this planet for a very long time. Trafficking is huge. That's the currency. Our DNA, humans, that's been the currency. It's been a massive intergalactic, interplanetary slave trade. So that's another part of why they would abduct some of these kids and take them off planet or use them on planet as well. So that's been a really big part of the virus that's going on. So I find it very interesting that this sort of disclosure is starting to come up. Halo, massive disclosure, and Halo, that's literally what they do. This is, close your ears if you don't want me to give it away. But in the series, which I've watched a good portion of the series, again now on Netflix, what they do is they steal these children from their families and they replace them with a clone. And their family doesn't know the difference. And then the children that they take, they enhance them. They suppress their hormones. They suppress their emotions. And they train them to be basically super soldier killers, assassins. Direct disclosure there, and that's interplanetary. So I find it really interesting that that's coming up in the collective right now. It's all over the internet. We're seeing the number 117, which is Master Chief, the main character. That coincides with 17, which has been a big number for the Awakening, as well as the 17 operation. Like, it's flooding the collective right now. And I feel there's been a lot of movement over the last few days. I've been getting a lot of messages, downloads about this. I had a dream that I'll share with you guys on 10/27, October 27th. The dream was I traveled back in time and I was viewing myself in high school. A lot of these children are taken at school age. And in this dream, I went back in time, high school. There was a super soldier there who was giving a presentation to the class. And after he was done, everybody else left. And I knew, my soul recognized his soul, and I knew what he had been through without him having to say it. And I went up to him and I gave him a hug, basically just saying, I see you. I know what you've endured in these covert programs. There's just a soul recognition. I gave him a hug, and then I felt, it was like an emotional, beautiful moment where I felt my heart chakra expanding and his heart chakra expanding. And there was some other super soldier stuff that happened in that dream. And whenever I woke up, I was like, what is going on? And I heard the organic timeline. So with these programs, they can create these kind of pocket realities or other timelines, because they're messing with time travel. They're messing with all sorts of stuff, consciousness, very advanced stuff. And it's kind of creating these other realities. So I heard the organic timeline, and I believe we had a massive timeline shift over the last couple of days. And some of these dark programs have been collapsed because it's been a slave trade, essentially. Very, very dark stuff that's been going on. So I believe a lot of those have been dissolved, or we got a massive wave in it. And then the organic, not artificial timelines that CERN and the cabal has been creating, trying to keep us on a negative path, negative timeline. Feel a lot of that's collapsing, involving these programs. I'm hearing truth, and it's coming to light. And we're going back into this organic. It's all those artificial timelines collapsing and going back into this organic timeline. And now disclosure on super soldier programs, and it's being seeded into the collective, but that's coming up more and more. And then I saw the date 11/17, November 17th, which is actually the anniversary of my first contact experience when a diamond craft appeared outside of my house, very close encounter. It sparked my awakening back in November 17th, 2020, and it was my galactic companion, Talia. I would later find out that it was Talia, which I've talked about her. She's a member of the Andromedan Council, and she works with the Alliance. There's that number again, 1117. And then I heard, it's Halo. They said, it's Halo. So this is a big shift, seeding that in the collective. And China's come out and said, I remember seeing this like 6 months ago, openly was talking about enhancing and creating super soldiers. So you might be able to find some of this stuff with a Google search. I also wanted to share a few other things here. Okay, so some whistleblowers that you can look into. Tony Rodriguez, he was taken as a child. He was non-military, taken as a child into these programs, has a ton of memories back. Niara Isley, she was actually in the military. Daryl James, also in the military, has connections to the Dark Fleet or the Nazi breakaway dark secret space programs. And then Solar Warden, which is the more positive. And he has memories of coming in with Pleiadian Nordic beings and rescuing children from like these satanic facilities. Rebecca Rose is another one. I've heard Michael Jaco, who is also a veteran, speak about having memories of being in a starport in the Atlantic Ocean. And he has memories from being in these programs. And then also there's a gentleman who testified at one of Dr. Greer's events a few years back. Let me see what his name is. Michael Herrera. Now, his testimony was very interesting. So this was a disclosure event where I believe Dr. Greer gathered some whistleblowers and they went to Congress and in DC, and they shared their testimony. It was a really big event a few years back. And Michael Herrera caught my attention because he was actually in the military, and he was somewhere like, it might have been the Philippines or Indonesia or somewhere around that area, where a massive natural disaster had just occurred. Another side note, whenever these disasters occur or chaos happens, like war or a hurricane or fires, like the Maui fires, where there were thousands of, or at least 1,000 children who went missing, they will take those opportunities, the deep state or the dark ones, they will take that opportunity to take children and steal people, because the highest currency is us. Our DNA, our blood, very, very powerful because we have so much potential. We're better than, like, they could just use robots as a super soldier program, but no, humans are better because we can think, we have more instinct, but we're also, through programming, can be very malleable, where they can program us exactly how they want us. So very dark stuff. But so they'll use events like that to take people also. So Michael Herrera, he was assisting with a massive natural disaster that happened. He ended up kind of alone, stumbling upon a ship, an aircraft, a hovering craft that did not make any noise. So like an advanced technology, like a UFO, in the middle of the woods during this event where the military was sent to go help. I don't know if it was a hurricane or what exactly it was that hit this country. Accidentally stumbled upon this hovercraft, advanced technology. He said that there were a bunch of military-looking guys, but they were in black. They did not have any insignias. They were not marked, so there was no telling what branch of military they were. I believe they were part of a secret space program. And he said they had these large containers, and he believes that they were stealing children, that they had children inside of it. And that was mind-boggling to me, because that's somebody who came out in more of a mainstream way. He was in the military and he stumbled across this scene and saw this. And I believe that it was also a direct disclosure of a secret space program, probably involving super soldiers. So there's another testimony if you want to look into that. Now, this is also depicted in a lot of films. Mickey 17. Like the disclosure on these covert programs, the super soldier programs, is starting to come out. Mickey 17 is about cloning. And it's interesting, the 17th clone, like it's called Mickey 17. There's that number again, disclosure. They're telling you through the movies, through the films. So that's a movie that came out over the last year. I actually haven't seen it yet, but they're making clones of him, and then he dies. He's on missions, and he dies, and then they just make another clone of him, and he wakes up. His consciousness is in a new clone body. And I guess Mickey 17, the 17th clone, might be the last one. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the movie. Halo, like I said, now it's on Netflix. You can watch that. Great disclosure. Captain America. They literally call him a super soldier. He is the first super soldier in the superhero films. And he was made through experimentation during World War II when they're fighting Hitler and the Nazis. He was created. Captain America, super soldier. So disclosure right there as well. The Gorge was a really good movie that came out over the last year or so, and that also depicts experimentation at that same time. You'll notice there's all of this stuff about lore about the Nazis, and did they all disappear? No, some of them fled. Where did they go? And that comes up in the experimentation of how they were trying to create a weapon through experimenting on these people during that era. So that was a good movie as well. Star Wars connection, the Clone Wars. I mean, in the original Star Wars came out in 1972, I believe. So super like ahead of their time. Well, not really. I guess the Clone Wars really have been happening since the 40s, since World War II, when these programs, maybe even before, really started. So they make clones and they're fighting those super soldiers. Also, in the last 3 Star Wars films, they discuss quite a few times, show how they go around and they steal children to train them into being stormtroopers. They call them harvesting the galaxy's young is what they do in Star Wars. So there's more disclosure there. Let me see if there was anything else I wanted to discuss. You might feel a resonance with this information. It can be very triggering and hard to swallow, this sort of information. But I believe some of us volunteered to go into some of these programs as a sole contract beforehand to kind of like spy or infiltrate or gather intelligence on some of these dark programs that have been secretly running the planet and beyond for decades. I have a memory that came to me through a dream about a project, and this is before I incarnated on Earth. This specific project, I believe, was like a super soldier, like very difficult mission that I would be enduring. And I had to go through, everybody who wanted to be a part of this program or maybe was selected to be part of this very difficult program, they had to go through rigorous testing. And I remember seeing 2 other people that I recognized. One of the guys, who's a pretty big account, actually, and voice in the community, he was the one who was testing me. And I was stepping in front of this machine, and he was literally testing my aura to make sure that I basically had the ability to go so deep into the matrix and into these programs, which can be very dark and traumatizing. The dark ones, probably even the positive ones too. You're seeing crazy stuff, doing crazy missions. I had to be tested to make sure that I had the ability to wake up from that and heal from that and fulfill my mission. So they wouldn't let just anybody volunteer for these very difficult programs and missions, because a lot of these things can be so traumatic that it gets people stuck in a loop, or some of them even lose their mind. They go into psychosis. it's very, very sad, actually. So I thought that was very interesting, getting that memory back. And I know the name of the project of that. Maybe I'll share more details on that in my next book. Let me see if there was anything else I wanted to share with you guys. On the topic of cloning, I did want to share something. So cloning's been a thing for a very long time. They didn't just clone that, what was it, a sheep or a lamb back in the 60s or before. They didn't just clone once and then stop. They've been cloning secretly. They've been doing this. And a lot of these politicians that we're seeing, I believe, are clones. They're kind of puppets. And there's been interesting information about Hillary Clinton. She's kind of in the spotlight right now. Okay, so here's something that Trump said about Hillary recently, saying that I don't like using names on people's doubles, like a body double, like this isn't the original Hillary.
I used to call her Crooked Hillary. I'd say Crooked Hillary, but I took that name away from her. That was a great day. About 2 months ago, I said, you know what? Because I don't like using names on people doubles. I think we have a lot of words out there. So now I call her Beautiful Hillary. She's a beautiful woman. Hillary Clinton. You know, I used to call her Crooked Hillary. I'd say,
don't like using names on people's doubles. I also heard before the inauguration, or it was either before the inauguration or before the election, I heard we have a new Trump. So I believe there are also multiple Trumps. And this is going a bit down the rabbit hole. I know, take what resonates, leave the rest. I thought it was hard to believe at first too, but then it starts to really make sense, and there's a lot of evidence for it. So this was just recently. Hillary says, I'm not even a human being. And before I play this, Nancy Pelosi, not too long ago, sometime in the last year, I saw this clip and I was like, what? She said on the news, on live TV, she said, I'm more cold-blooded, I'm reptilian. She literally said it. So that's one of the rules of the dark side in these cults, these dark cults, is they have to tell you, but most people just shrug it off as like, oh, they're joking, or they didn't really mean that. Because that's tricking you into consent. They get away with this because they are telling you. Okay, so now I'll play this clip.
Preparation for this interview, I watched a lot of your interviews, and I noticed you never sweat, like physically. You guys are the first to realize that I'm really not even a human being. I was constructed in a garage in Palo Alto a very long time ago. People think that, you know, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, they created. I don't even know. Oh, no. I mean, a man whose name shall remain nameless created me in his garage. In preparation for this interview, I watched a lot of your interviews, and I noticed you never sweat, like physically. You guys are the first to realize that I'm really not even a human being.
Crazy. So then that also goes into, see, job well done for the positive super soldiers. A lot of these, that also goes into how a lot of these people, the dark elites, they are kind of puppets for like these reptilian dark entities who are kind of just like looshing off and harvesting off of dark negative energy. And you can even off of trafficking, you can get into even darker topics with that. It's very, very nasty stuff, and it's hard to believe at first, but you know, it really starts to make sense as you start going down in that rabbit hole. But a lot of these people are taken over by dark entities, and they have reptilians or dark entities that are working through them. Now, I'm going to share my screen one more time here. I feel what's happened over the last few days seems like a big win, like a positive timeline shift. We've got disclosure coming out. And these positive super soldiers coming out and helping to rescue children and helping to defeat some of these darker programs or clear out these cabal satanic networks. I've been feeling a really big shift over the last couple days, and now it's starting to come out more into the open. We're getting some disclosure of that. It's being seeded into the collective consciousness. I find that incredibly fascinating. And like I was saying before, I think a lot of people before incarnating may have agreed to go into some of these darker programs to gather information and then eventually turn to infiltrate from within. We have to do it from within. That's why we can't expect aliens to save the day. That's why we have galactic emissaries and star seeds, undercover agents, galactics, who have come down here, reincarnated on Earth to change from within, to break down the system from within. I believe a lot has, that's happened a lot with some of these super soldier programs and secret space programs. A lot of us have come in, gone undercover within these programs to help dismantle them or bring disclosure from the inside out. So I'm interested to see what else starts coming up. And you may be seeing the number 117. I've noticed other people who have seen that number synchronistically, which again is the number of Master Chief, the main character in Halo. I believe that is a communication or a symbol, a synchronicity for those super soldiers who are awakening and here to help break down the system, here to remember the awakening ones. So let me know in the comments if you've seen that number or the number 17. And just to begin wrapping that up, again, if you'd like to learn more about any of those topics, you can check some of the interviews that I have on my channel. Journey to Truth podcast, our friends over there, they've interviewed a lot of these people and done a lot of really great coverage on the secret space programs and super soldier stuff, as well as Dr. Michael Sala has posted a lot and interviewed a lot of whistleblowers whose testimonies, and they have evidence too of this. It's mind-boggling. So you might want to check out those resources as well. And our friends at Journey to Truth podcast are actually working on a secret space program documentary where they show a lot of incredible evidence. I'm excited about that, and I believe that's going to help bring in a new wave of disclosure on these covert programs as well. And it's going to be premiering in Sedona this January. So I'll leave a link in the video description if you want to learn more on that, or if you want to go give them a subscribe at Journey to Truth podcast. They just got their original YouTube channel back after it was taken down from censorship. And also one other announcement, 3i Atlas, which I'm sure I'll have more updates this Sunday. I'll be live at 12 p.m. PT, 2 p.m. Central Time. So you can turn notifications on or set an alarm for that. 3i Atlas is going to be the closest to the sun on Wednesday. I guess that'd be tomorrow, October 29th. So we'll see what happens. I want to do another deep dive into 3i Atlas updates. Are they going to be making contact? What are the impacts going to be on the sun? Because we're having explosions right now in solar activity, massive shifts, timeline shifts. So I'm sure I'll be talking more about that on Sunday as well. And you can get my Lyran activation, Retrieve Divine Blueprint codes from 3i Atlas and the Lyran beings and other galactic beings who are working with that, which is a conduit of frequency. It's helping to shift our consciousness. And you can experience profound things by working with that energy. I did a session, an hour-long session, working with the Lyrans and 3i Atlas codes that you can get the recording of at a discounted price now. I think it'd be a good time as we have 3i Atlas in the solar system to do that, and you can do it as many times as you'd like. very profound upgrades and shifts that I've experienced since that. So I'll leave that in the video description as well if you'd like to check that out. It's also on my website, lilynovacontact.com. All right, let me know your comments. What do you guys think about this? I know we've gone a little bit down the rabbit hole, but I mean, it is what it is. This is the reality that we live in. So drop your comments. Let me know your thoughts if you have any questions. And please give this video a like. I will see you guys live on Sunday.